Hey guys, so we are on the very last live stream of the year. Let me see if I can adjust this real quick so you guys aren't getting a face full of light from the mirror. There we go. So yeah, very last live stream of the Month of Endings event. This has been like a really great event. It's gone really well. I'm so thankful for everyone who's participated, who's hung out with me on the live streams. Abigail's already here. Hi, Abigail. First one here every time. So yeah, it's gone great. Thank you very much. So a couple, couple reminders. We have these candles available from Little Mouse Bookshelf. I've already heard quite a few of my readers saying they picked them up. A few of them have sent pictures and everything. So definitely go check that out. I'm going to have the event page up for another day. So definitely check that out. And then today's also the last day that you're going to be able to get $2 off the merch store by typing in RTS3, all capitalized, at checkout. So if you have any interest in Raven Tree Society merch, definitely go get that now. Abigail says she tries to be punctual. Yes, she does. And she also said, mine just arrived today. That's so awesome. She got Tyler and the Raven Tree Society. Great. That's awesome. I love both of those candles. Those are the Raven Tree Society, and the one that we decided to go with for Tyler were the ones that were like neck and neck for being the main big candle that I got. So yes. And Abigail said her sister likes them too. Yes. So Little Mouse Bookshelf did an incredible job on those candles, and I highly recommend you check them out. And if you have not read the Raven Tree Society yet, and you go ahead and pick them up, there's actually going to be some treats in there from me as well as from Victoria from Little Mouse Bookshelf. So yeah, lots of reasons to check that out. Let's see. I'm running a little bit behind because I just came back from running some errands. So I'm trying to wrap my head around all my announcements. Okay, so the final announcement is this is the last day to get in on giveaways. So I still have 2 giveaways running. One of them you can get the full series of the Raven Tree Society in ebook. So that's these ones here, the collected editions. So you'll be able to read through the entire thing. And you can pick that up, anywhere you're in the world, you can enter that contest. So that's going to be ending out today. And then I also have the giveaways for the cover art from each of the front covers. So you'll be getting a signed print of those if you win those. So that's there. The cover art from each of those. And then also a print of this drawing on the inside. So if you like those, and you want those hanging out in your house, make sure and go check those out. At some point this month, I'm actually going to be adding those up on my some of my shops on my merch store, and I'm going to be testing out the coffee shop. So, which is interesting. I just noticed now that came out like that. My coffee account, they actually just added shops, so I can go ahead and add those up there so you guys can print them out at home. So we're going to test and see how that works out. So yeah, and then also this week I released a short story, Hannah and the Hag, which is from the perspective of Hannah, which is one of my reader favorite characters in the Raven Tree Society. She has her very own short story now. So that's available on Ko-fi and on my Discord. So if you go to either of those sites, Ko-fi, you don't need to sign in, but I'm only posting on there once. So once it's off the screen, you're gonna have to dig for buried treasure in order to find it again. And Discord, if you head over to my free fiction channel, You can download it there from the download link. And then that will be in January. I'm going to go ahead and put that on the website. So if you don't grab it now, unless you're in my Discord, you're going to have to wait for it. So yeah, those are all kind of like the end of the month goodies. Yeah, happy Halloween for those who celebrate Halloween. I tend not to be big into Halloween, which is going to sound ironic because I've been celebrating a month, right? But yeah, I'm not big into Halloween. I actually tend to move more towards the Reformation Day, which because I'm a nerd, so I'm a theology nerd, so I get excited about that. But yeah, it's been really fun. I've been all month long digging into, some of my favorites. I say I'm not big into Halloween, but, I definitely have favorite Halloween movies and stuff like that. So I've been digging into all my favorite Gothic stories and Halloween movies and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a great month. I've had a lot of fun. So yeah, this is basically just a hangout. I don't have anything really special planned. I have my little goblet here. I have my dark black Gothic-y goblet. I feel very on brand right now. Then again, most of the stuff I own is black. So, but yeah, so this is just kind of a hangout. I'm going to chat about a few things. Feel free to ask questions if you want, but it's not really a Q&A. I just wanted to come spend some time with you guys for, end of the month. So I'm going to be talking about some of the inspiration behind the Raven Tree Society, talking about kind of where we're going in the future, answer any questions that pop up. I'd love to hear from you guys. Nanowrimo starts tomorrow, and I'm going to be participating, finishing out one of my books. I'm doing the editing. So it's not a traditional Nanowrimo because I'm going to be editing the final half of the book because I write 100,000 word books. So I have about 25,000 words of actual writing left in it. And then the rest is going to be editing. So I'm hoping that I'm going to get that done earlier in the month and have my NaNoWriMo win. And then I'm going to move on to finishing another book that I have halfway finished. But I'm not going to be pushing myself too hard because it's been a long year, guys. It's been 2020. And really just my goal for this year is to finish editing the final book in the Malfunction series. So, yes, I'm excited about that. So if you guys are doing NaNoWriMo, I'd love to hear what you're working on. If you're doing that, Abigail just left a nice long comment. She said, since this is a chat, if you ever have an opportunity, I think writing a character that goes through the book teaching another pidgin English would be amazing. Oh, that's a really good idea. So we talked a little bit in one of the live streams I did recently about one of my Q&As. My Ask Me Anything over on Facebook. There's actually still links on my event page if you head over there. But I talked about where I grew up. I spoke a second language, Pidgin English, and so that's what Abigail was saying. And actually, the other book that I'm planning on maybe getting some work done on in November for NaNoWriMo is Tahiri, which has some Pidgin English in it. So I use a few words here and there. So it's in there. It's not completely in there. I'm not teaching anyone Pidgin English, but it's there. So yes, thank you, Abigail. That's a good idea. I would definitely love to do a little bit more with kind of my experiences in the place I grew up with. So yeah. Abigail says, I'm doing NaNoWriMo pretty unofficially. That's probably a good way to do it in 2020. But I'm determined to keep up with this year. It's a goal that's pretty near and dear to me. That's great. Yeah, we're going to be doing some sprints for NaNoWriMo over on the Discord, and Abigail already knows this. But I'm going to have some of my readers join me on Skype is what we're planning right now. Hopefully that all works out. It worked out pretty good last time because I don't have access to the full 2 hours sessions on Zoom. But yeah, so we're going to be hanging out on Skype and doing live sprints on Skype and hopefully getting some great word counts. So that should be really exciting. I'm looking forward to that. I'm not looking forward to jumping back into Connection. It's kind of scaring me very much right now. But I'm excited to actually finish it. Like, I have a plan. I know how to make it better. This is my 5th time through it. So hopefully it works this time. And I don't have to start from scratch again, because it's been like 2 years at this point. Not 2 years of working on the book. Actually, okay, so fun fact, since we're talking about Nanowrimo and Connection. So Connection was actually the first book that I ever wrote for Nanowrimo, the first 50,000 words, and it's a 100,000 word book. So I wrote the first 50,000 words, and that was before I published Malfunction. I had written all 3 books before I published them, because I thought I was being really, really like smart, intelligent, right? Not realizing that editing takes a lot more than that, especially when you're a newbie. It's not quite as intensive now that I've been a writer for a while. And that's not to say that I don't still, because I haven't written another 100,000 word book that's not in the Malfunction trilogy, because the Raven Tree Society, all of them are 10,000 words per episode. So that's really easy to like edit, at least for me. Short stories are pretty easy to edit, because I have my idea of how it'll go, and I get it done quickly, and it's great. We'll see how that works out. Tahiri is really like wandering, and like all over the place. So that should be an experience editing that, because I mean, that's kind of part of the goal of Tahiri, is it's supposed to be kind of relaxing and kind of feel like vacation and an exploration of a new world. But at the same time, I don't want to put out like something really boring. So, but that's not connecting to anything. It's going to be my first fantasy out. It'll be interesting. It's connected to something eventually, but we'll see. So I got a couple more comments from Abigail. She says, I can't wait to see how it turns out. Connection sounds awesome, and I'm excited to see how it fits into your universe. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be done with it. I can't say I'm excited for it right now. I think I kind of psyched myself out, but I know that once I get back into it, I'm going to be excited again. I'm thinking about some ways to like maybe watch some things or read some things to maybe get me on the right track. I'm actually reading The Expanse right now, which is kind of similar to the feel that I'm going for, but not quite, because I started writing Malfunction well before I even knew that The Expanse existed. But anyways, I'm hoping that might get me in the mood a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys do anything like mood-wise to get you into writing? Do you light candles, play music, read certain books? I know some authors who refuse to read anything in the same genre they're writing in, because they don't want it to affect them. For the longest time, I wasn't able to read anything outside of the genre that I was writing. So if I was writing science fiction, I had to read science fiction, because it would keep me in the mindset. Otherwise, I get excited and be like, oh, I want to write a fantasy. Oh, I want to write a horror. See how well that worked out, because I have a complete horror series that's finished before my science fiction series. But hey, I'm just starting out on this author thing. I'm allowed to make a few mistakes. But yeah, so let me know, do you have to like stick to something in particular? Abigail says, obviously you've had some experience with creative individuals who make their livings off of nerdy things like Little Mouse. So what would you say to people who are thinking about doing the same? So thinking about working full-time in a creative hobby. So I think if I had like any advice, it would be don't quit your day job, which sounds really, really mean, but I know a few people who have quit working and then were not able to like fund their creative pursuits, and we weren't able to get it up off the ground. And I think that it definitely works for some people. Like I've heard some people who quit their job and then like jumped in and gave it their all and were like up and running pretty soon. I think you have to be really, really good with money in order to do that. I know I definitely won't be able to do it. But I'm not like a one person household. So it might be able to, especially if you have low expenses and you don't live in like California or Florida where the cost of living is really high. It might work out, but I would encourage you to like get a plan, treat it seriously, put your money for the business aside, do your research definitely, and like get a good platform going before you like quit what you're doing and jump into it. I would also suggest, I think one thing that I suggest a lot of times to people who are interested in looking into like a creative career is that there's this balance between like the business side and the creative side. And sometimes you need the business side to work out so much in order to pay bills that you sacrifice the creative side again and again and again. And eventually it just becomes another day job. And I would encourage you to be careful with that, because especially when it comes to like writing and painting and art, it can be hard to make a living in, to be honest. Like it's hard to get ahead in those things, especially nowadays. We have, you can pirate things with a click of a button, and people expect to be able to, because of Netflix and stuff, download stuff free and get super cheap or free content. It can be really hard to make a living in that. So if you're going to be making a living doing something that you don't enjoy, then make a living doing something you don't enjoy and then come home and enjoy the creative stuff. If you're going to turn the creative stuff into something you don't enjoy in order to make a living off of it, like there are better ways to spend your time than burning yourself out on creative endeavors, which takes so much out of you in order to make a buck. So yeah, that's probably another reason why I would encourage you to maybe like start working on the creative side before you quit your real job. I hate using that because it's not a good, creative stuff is a real job, but before you quit your pay the bills job, I guess is how I'll put it. So yeah, that's my advice. Now that's coming from me who hasn't, like, I still work 50 hours a week. I haven't ever supported myself completely off of my creativity. But my husband is right now. He's working a creative job. So yeah, like I don't have like a full idea of how it works experientially, but I've put a lot of research into it. So there's to answer Abigail's question. She's got another one. She says, super random, but Kyle's art looks a lot how I vision him. That's Kyle up there. Tyler's was substantially different, but I think that's because I expected them to look alike. Yeah, so part of that is probably for my lack of skill with art. But I try my best. And I think I have a little bit more skill than like the average Joe, depending on who the average Joe is, which is why I endeavored to allow myself to paint my own cover art, my own character art. But I think like if I had my ideal, like I don't think Tyler turned out entirely how I wanted him to. Close. He's getting there. But yeah. But also, like, I didn't want to just like replicate Kyle and Tyler after Kyle and just have like the same, if that makes any sense, when like mumble jumble. I didn't want just another picture of Kyle for Tyler. Like, I wanted Tyler to be his own person, and I wanted that to be clear in how he looked too. That he was, he's a good bit different from Kyle in a lot of ways. So yeah, let's see what else is in the comments. What does your husband do for a living, if you don't mind me asking? So my husband runs gaming servers. He does that, and then he also like builds websites and YouTube video intros and stuff like that for people as well. So he makes most of his money doing. He builds the gaming servers, and then he also streams on them as well. So he makes most of his money off the actual servers, and then he does streaming like twice a week, and then he makes a good amount of money from that as well. So that's what he does kind of as his full-time job now. He was working as a security guard at the beginning of COVID, and it just got complicated. But he's doing really well in this position right now, so he enjoys it. And Abigail says, don't knock your art. Thank you. I'm actually quite proud of how I did. Otherwise, I wouldn't have shared it with people. I think I'm quite proud of my work. However, I don't consider myself a professional artist, and most of that is because I don't work on it every day. I think that art, like any other skill, has to be worked on. So there's some level of like pure talent that comes into factor. But people are like, "Oh, you're so talented," and it's like, okay, yes, you can be talented. However, you still need to work at it. And I don't paint and draw like I used to every day, but I don't do it every day. So if I was gonna like ask other people to pay me to like create work for them, that would be different. But I've had the genuine joy to actually create some covers. Do you guys want to see some covers of some other books that I painted covers for? So obviously, like I said, I painted the covers of the Raven Tree Society, and I'm quite happy with how those turned out. I think most of those, the reason why those look so good and I'm so happy with them is because my cover designer is just incredible. I also had a few other covers that I was able to paint. So this isn't available anymore, but this, and then a sequel to this, this is a little book of poems by one of my critique partners, Shy Holland, SM Holland. So I painted this there, and then Voyage of the Pequod by Evie Dawson. I painted this, and actually I painted a separate piece for the back. So that's one of mine. And then I don't have the entire series. Someday I might have to buy the one in between. But see, I think I've painted, I painted something, a cover for all of my critique partners at this point. So the Steward Saga, I painted covers for those as well. So that's one, and this is book 3. She's got 4 out. Is this 3 or 4? Those are, look how big and chunky those books are. But yeah, so I painted all those covers. And now, look at my beautiful shelf is falling apart. This is my shelf of honor. Over half of the books on this shelf are either my own books or by people that I know. And this isn't even counting my ebooks. So I wish I could own more paperbacks from my indie author friends. I will get there at one point. There we go. That was a fun little adventure. Abigail says, I had no idea. Wow, thank you so much. You're so sweet. Every author I know has one, including myself. Every author I know as in book. I'm assuming that's what you mean. I'm sure she commented as I was talking, and because I was distracted with showing off my goodies, I didn't see which one. But honorary shelf, there we go, honorary shelf. Yes, you have to rep. At one point, I fully expected to turn into an honorary, like the full shelf and not just one. Like, I'm going to have a complete shelf with books from all the people that I know and love. So that'll be fun. Someday when I have my own office space and not just like a corner of my bedroom, that will be the plan. So yes, one day this room will become a tourist attraction. Oh, I hope not. At least I hope it gets cleaned better first. Actually, my house is clean today. I'm very excited about this. Yes. Okay. What am I drinking today? Okay, so most people won't admit this, but Coke. I drink a lot of Coke. Too much. But I want a caffeine, and I live in Florida, and it's still too hot for like tea all day long. I still do a good amount of like hot tea. I don't drink cold tea. I drink hot tea. I had a whole discussion about this on my release day vlog, I think. If I kept it in, I might have cut it out. Okay, so we're 30 minutes in, and I haven't covered like any of my inspiration for the series or anything like that. So Do you guys want to hear some of that? I talked about this at length before. Actually, when I was painting, I think it was this cover. Maybe it was this one. I was painting on Facebook Live, and either Facebook Live or Instagram Live. It was a while ago at this point. It's been a year. When I was painting, I actually was talking about all my inspiration behind it and kind of some of my own personal experiences. So, so there's a lot of like personal stuff that goes into this book, and I'm trying hard not to like talk over the same things again and again and again. But one of my favorite podcasts is Lore, which is, you guys definitely need to look it up. There's like an Amazon series about it and stuff too. Aaron Mahnke, which just covers this kind of like folklore stuff. Sometimes it's America, sometimes it's somewhere else. Sometimes there's weird things like raining rocks, and sometimes it's a little bit more spooky. Sometimes it talks about aliens, or sometimes it's ghosts, or sometimes it's like horrific real life historical events. But it's just a really like fun podcast. So I definitely recommend you check that out. But I've actually pulled a lot from that one. So in episode 5 of season 1, I have a scene where a ghost kind of beckons Kyle to come follow him off the edge of a bridge. And that's like ripped right off of the first episode of Lore, except it wasn't a ghost, it was like a creature. And it creeped me out so much. And that's not a particularly creepy podcast. It's more of like a fall vibe with a little bit of creep on the side. So it's not like hardcore creepy. So I pulled that out. Also some stuff about like abandoned towns and stuff like that. So I got a lot of inspiration off of that. I love Gothic. So there's definitely like a Gothic twist to a lot of the stories as well. Let's see. So fun one is episode 4 of season 2 is an actual haunted house nearby that I got to go to and look around in. And I promised to post it to my readers last time I mentioned this in a live video, but there's actually like a wreath that is made out of human hair, and it was in the house, so it ends up being like the haunted object in this particular episode. So I pulled inspiration off of that. But then I also got a lot of inspiration off of my own life. So as a missionary kid, and then as someone who's had like a variety of sleep disorders in my life, I've had quite a few creepy experiences actually. So I've been a sleepwalker my entire life. And I've also had sleep paralysis. So let me know in the comments if you know what sleep paralysis is, or if you've ever had an episode. I think it's something like 30% of all people have experienced sleep paralysis. It's really common. But basically what it is when you go to sleep, your body goes into a paralytic state. Your brain basically turns off the switch that tells your body to move, so that you aren't like running around all over the place in your sleep. So you're not like, they actually showed on a documentary I watched, they showed how they kind of like turn this off in a cat. And so the cat was not paralyzed when it was sleeping, and it was running all around the house, which was quite interesting. But so yeah, I grew up with sleep paralysis and sleepwalking, all that kind of stuff. Abigail just put a comment. She said, I've never known someone who had it, but my brother used to be a sleepwalker. Yes, so sleepwalker is kind of like the opposite state, where your body doesn't paralyze it. But in sleep paralysis, what happens is you wake up and your body stays in that paralytic state. And some people say it's demonic attack. Some people say it's aliens. There's been lots of theories as to what it is. But basically, you get this sensation of fear, and because you can't move, then your brain tries to attach to something, and this is the scientific explanation, obviously. And because that, it creates these entities in the room. So there's been some common ones that people have mentioned, and those would be a shadow person. So it's, basically a shadowy shape of a person. And if you've read the Raven Tree Society, there's plenty of times where I describe ghosts as being like shadows. So there's that. There's one in particular that most people have seen. I haven't actually, but most people have seen it. It's a shadow person with a wide brimmed hat on. So most people recognize that one. And then there's also the black cat, which is seen. And then a hag, which is actually like the folklore explanation for it. You wake up and you have a hag and it's holding you down and making it so you can't breathe, which is actually Hannah and the Hag, the short story. That's what she experiences. So, so there's that. And then there's one more common one. Oh, yes, out-of-body experiences. So another thing people experience is and they can actually tell you like in complete detail of like leaving their body, and sometimes it's the entity dragging them out of their body. So their body is staying in place, but they're like spiritually being dragged out of their body. At least it feels like that, and that's what they're experiencing. They get dragged out, and they can like. There's one that was saying like I could like point out to you where there was like a nail sticking out of the floor and stuff like that, like because it was so vivid to him. Or a lot of people say that's where alien abduction stories come from, is that kind of out-of-body experience where you feel like, there's people watching you and looking down at you, and you feel like you're kind of being pulled out of your body or you're being levitated. So it's a very, very common phenomenon. A lot of people experience it, and I experienced it a lot growing up. But I had this weird thing where it would be kind of like a connection between the sleep paralysis and sleepwalking at the same time. And so I would see things in the room with me, but I would be wide awake and like walking around and like seeing stuff, and fully convinced of what I was experiencing, but it'd still be like I wasn't paralyzed. So I see another comment from Abigail, so I'm going to pause and look at this. She says, I've got company all of a sudden, and I'm going to have to leave you, but thanks for hosting it as always. Thank you so much, Abigail, for hanging out. It was really fun to answer some of your questions. I hope you enjoy your company. So yeah, where was I? Yes, talking about sleep paralysis. So I remember once watching Ghosts in the Darkness, which is older movie, following a true story of these lions which have attacked people and were killing a whole bunch of people. And so I watched that movie, and then I remember there being a lion in my room and Maasai warriors like all circled around me, and it was the creepiest thing ever. I also at one point like was convinced that my mom was the president, or the queen. And my sister and I were Secret Service, and people were trying to get in and kill my mom. And so I was patrolling the halls, like not sure if I should wake up my sister or not. Because on the one hand, like my logical side of my brain was like, yeah, you're totally dreaming. You can't go wake her up. She's going to be really angry at you. But the majority of my brain was telling me that I needed to alert her to the fact that people were coming to kill my mom. So I've had some pretty insane experiences from sleep paralysis. And so I pull on those a lot for the books, not just in like direct inspiration for them, but also in kind of some of the feelings I had. Because I definitely have had like out-of-body experiences. I've felt that kind of sleep paralysis thing where you're laying down and you kind of pull you out of your body and you can look down and see your body, or you can't feel your own body. So those were really interesting, especially towards the end of season 3, where we had some eye-body experiences, what spiritualists would call astral projection. So that was kind of interesting to play around with that. And also like the feeling of like waking up and someone being there watching you, or I've also felt like hands on me, or felt like the bed go down as someone was sitting on the bed. So all those kind of things were great fodder for my imagination as I was writing this book, because some of it was very experiential. So some of the things that I put in there were creepy, and they maybe didn't have a ton to do with the story, but they were so real and vivid to my own experience that I kind of added them in just so that I could get the fun little detail. And then sometimes I pulled some of those details out and put them in other places. So I could be like, hey, I've experienced this, but here's a new context for it. And, so yeah, that was quite fun, like putting all that together. So yeah, that's a couple of the places where I got inspiration from this. And I definitely do reference like some stories and stuff too, of like shows and movies that I was watching at the time. So Haunting Hill House, Supernatural, especially in season 1. Supernatural inspired a lot, especially a lot of like my main character's personality. A few books. My cat's currently trying to get into the room, but I know if I let her in, she's going to destroy everything. She's going to knock things down, and she's horrible when it comes to that. Like, she's knocked down this computer multiple times during live streams before. I also call her the zombie cat because she looks pretty zombie-like. If you guys have hung out for any of my live streams, you might have actually seen her. She's pretty ridiculous. So yeah, that's a little bit of my experiences behind this. And I think I'm going to talk a little bit about where I'm looking at this series going. And then if there's no other like comments and questions or whatever, I'll move on. So the few things that I have planned for sure right now is I know that I'm going to do a Christmas episode next year. I would like to continue to play around in the Raven Tree Society. The series is finished. It's done. I'm not going to be adding to the series. And I probably am not going to do a spin-off like I've thought about it a little bit, but I have other horror and other gothic horror that I want to do. So I don't want to get stuck kind of in the same series. I think the story that I set out to tell has been told. I really like the format of it. A lot of my readers really like the format of it. It's really confusing. It was quite a headache for both myself and for my formatter, Pool Publishing Services, but she was a real champ and she worked through all of it. But, because it's like, okay, so here's episode 2, but which season is it? So, or, 1 or 2 or 3, or, So anyways, it gets confusing. But my point in all that is the series is done. I don't intend to add any more to it as far as like the actual series goes. So all the content that I want to play around with is additional stuff. So next year I want to do a Christmas episode. So right now, kind of the plan is that I'm going to take it a few years in the future, and I'm going to have one of the characters kind of called back to deal with another character who's kind of taken over the Raven Tree Society show, and it's a ghost inspired by the idea of a Wendigo. I don't really want to play with an actual like Wendigo legend because I feel like there's like it's like commonly used in tropey, and B like it just feels a little bit weird to be playing around with that particular legend for me. But I like the idea of being inspired by it. So, and maybe even like mentioning it, especially because it's a wintry thing. I was like, I could go with Krampus, but no. So I'm going to be playing around with the idea of a Wendigo, and I'm going to be turning it into more of a ghost story, where one of the characters is called back to kind of deal with this real ghost in the middle of all this filming. So that should be fun. I kind of already have the main plot points figured out for that. It'll probably just be another 10,000 word short story because I do have a lot of writing to do next year, especially if I'm going to be starting on my new series. But we shall see. If I get carried away, it might be like a full like 25,000 novella or maybe even longer. So that's something to look forward to. I'm also planning on very soon here, probably before January, I'm going to be looking into starting an audiobook for the Raven Tree Society. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to actually take the whole series at once instead of breaking it down to three different ones. Excuse me. And I have varying reasons for that. One of them is that longer books just do better, especially on like Amazon and stuff. but also because I feel like it might get confusing otherwise. Like I said, although readers really like this format, especially once they get into it and once they figure it out as being like, oh, this is like your favorite TV show, like you can binge through it, right? But for a few readers, they've had kind of trouble realizing that it's episodic, and even once they realize that it's episodic, they have trouble realizing that it has seasons. So they struggle to kind of realize how the format works. Which, especially if you're not like experiencing it as it's being released, which it made a lot of sense, for 1 year, 1 season, especially now that it's not in the midst of the releases anymore. I do want to make it quite clear that, this is a full series. This, season 1, episode 1, all the way through season 3, episode 5, they're all sequential. So I kind of want to stick to one complete audiobook. But then also, I'm thinking that I'm going to bridge that over to have a complete collection, paperback and hardback. So what I'm going to be looking at for the paperback is I want to actually use the original cover that Pool Publishing designed for me, and it looks very different. Like these ones have like a gray, misty palette to it, but the original cover, and I don't have my copy anymore. I actually gave it to my sister-in-law. But the original cover, I might actually be able to bring it up on my phone. And I think it might be on my Pinterest as well. But let's see, because I think I have it on my Kindle app. The original covers. I just have to get back without messing up my current read. So the original cover is it's gorgeous. It's got all this the grays and blues, but also like orange and reds. So if you guys can see, I don't think there's a, there we are. So that's the original cover. So I'd like to bring that one back for the complete collection. But then I also want to do a hardback. So this is where the fun is going to be, because I'm going to be doing a hardback and I'm going to be going all out. So it's going to be a collector's edition. It's going to be hard to get. I'm thinking what I'm probably going to do is make it available on maybe my coffee shop, maybe on my website, and have like a limited number on those. But then I'm going to have them available for in-person purchases. So if you come and see me at an event, then you'll be able to get a copy there and have a signed edition. And so it's going to be kind of like a collector's edition type thing. So probably what I'm going to do is make it just available for kind of like my most passionate readers, the people who really love this series and would want something like that. But for the majority of it, it's going to be in person. So not only is it going to be a hardcover with the original cover, but I'm going to have each of the cover arts from each season between the seasons. And then I'm going to also have the logo image, which is this one right here. I'm going to have that between each episode, which is how it is right now. I got them between each episode. But then what I'd also like to do is include all the character arts. I might even do a couple more if I'm brave enough. So I'm going to do all the character arts and include those. And then I'm also going to do a few ink drawings of some of the monsters in there and scatter those throughout. So that should be a lot of fun. I might even do, because I'm looking about doing maybe some special extra content, maybe ask some people to send me interview questions and have an interview with the author at the end. I've seen that happen before. Or maybe an extra short story or something like that, just to add a little bit of extra value to the book. But it's going to be, a good thick book, because that's each season is around 50,000 words. So that's what, 150,000 words. It's a good chunk of a book. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. So those are kind of the big plans I have in the future: the audiobook, the Christmas episode, and the collector's edition hardcover, and the full collection paperback. So, and that's probably only going to be in paperback. And yeah, I'll see how that works out. I'll probably have the paperback available on Amazon, and that one isn't going to have all the art and pictures inside. But if I'm going to do signed editions, that's probably the one I'm going to use for signed editions. That and the hardback. So yeah, so that's what I'm looking at for the future. I have a few more horror I want to work on and stuff like that as well. But yeah, that's what we're looking at for the future of the Raven Tree Society. I definitely want to keep doing some projects in there. I think more than any of my other series right now, and the ones that I have planned or going at the moment, this one allows for some experimentation because the format is already episodic and short story. So it's easy to do a one-off because, like I said, it's episodic, so it can be a contained story, and it can be short, and it can maybe work out for some other things. So I have a few other ideas for stuff I want to try, but I'm not going to make any promises or even kind of mention what it is because there's such long shots that even though I'm really excited about the idea, it'll be a while. But yeah, so that's kind of the future plans. For now, we have the paperbacks are all available. And then if you want even more than that, go check out the extras. There's a prequel short story available to download. There's the prequel I mentioned, Hannah and the Hag, that's on my Discord and on my Coffee. And if you go to Little Mouse Bookshelf, and I'm going to put the link in the extras page on my website as well. But if you go to Little Mouse Bookshelf, then there'll be the candles available, and she has some plans for more in the future. So it's really exciting. So actually, if you go to my event page, you can hear the whole plan from her own mouth. But from what I understand, what she wants to do is a layered candle in kind of like an ombre effect, ombre, however you say it, with a scent for each episode. So as you burn through the candle, it'll go through the episodes 1 through 5 for each season. So that's really cool. I love that idea. She's going to be working on that, and that's not going to happen right away, but that's something kind of in the future to look out for. So yeah, it's a lot happening. For now, though, I'm closing out the series. I'm closing out kind of the main marketing push, and I'm going to be focusing on my cyberpunk. Most of my brand from now on is going to be consumed with my cyberpunk and biopunk creative side. I'm going to be doing a little bit of fantasy and a little bit of horror, but the majority of my stuff is going to be cyberpunk and biopunk. So if you guys are into that kind of stuff, like, definitely stick around. And that's not to say I'm not going to be working in horror, because I definitely am. It's probably going to be more of a gothic bent. I have a few ideas already in the works. I probably won't have one next year. We'll just kind of see how, because I want to get a good start on this next cyberpunk series after Connection. But we'll see how that works out. So yeah, that's kind of it. It's kind of crazy that I'm ending this month of endings out, and I'm not going to see you guys for a live stream next week. But like I said, if you're hanging out for Nanowrimo, like, come join me for the live sprints, because that's still going to be happening. So yeah, I'm going to close it out unless anyone else has something to say. This is going to be the end. Thank you so much for just so many people. People gave them my coffee. People showed up for events. People entered giveaways. Purchased copies of not only season 3 but all the seasons. I've had readers give copies to their friends as gifts. I've had so many readers pick up candles, send pictures, and share, and it's just been really great to feel so much support and love. When, you know, this entire month of endings was more of me just wanting to celebrate myself. To be able to celebrate it with my readers and to have them respond so well has just been a huge blessing. So thank you so much. And before I go, I just kind of want to give some honorable mentions to people who worked to make this happen. So first off, you know, my camera creators. I want to thank Get Fictional Candles. Made 2 candles for me. This is mine, and I'm keeping it, and you can't have it. No, but she made one for a giveaway, so I was able to give that away to a reader, and that was really awesome. And then Little Mouse Bookshelf who went above and beyond with not just creating candles, but including them in her store and working with me closely and working with me on marketing and showing up for live streams. Like, it was so great. And then I also want to just thank Pool Publishing Services, who created gorgeous covers, gorgeous books. Like, these are some of my favorite books, and I've even showed off to my husband. And I'm like, hey, look, my books look better than the stuff coming out of traditional publishers. But she just created beautiful books for me. Went above and beyond to make sure everything was great. I love working with Pool. She's always just given me more than I could ever ask for. So yeah, so those are my honorable mentions and my thank yous. Once again, thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great November in NaNoWriMo. Make sure and look me up and friend me if you want to follow along with my journey. For now, I'm going to say goodbye. Go get some dinner. Bye, guys. Thank you.